Hey friends, good morning. Today we're out at the David G. Leach Research Station. It's in Madison, Ohio. It's owned by the Holden Arboretum. It's a private collection of mostly a large collection of rhododendrons, but it's a gorgeous place to photograph. Now, I worked out here a couple years ago mapping all these plants, so I've got a pretty good idea of the layout out here, but we got clear skies. I thought it'd be a nice time to come out and try to do some flower photography. There's usually some wildlife out here, and I just wanted to get used to the grounds again because we're going to be helping lead a photo tour out here. So stay tuned. We're going to check out some of the grounds and we're going to do some flower photography. Hopefully we can get something good. One of the cool things I like about this place is there's a lot of wildlife. You hear a woodpecker over here hammering a tree. So although I do shoot a lot of flower photography out here, when I worked here I also was always crawling around out here with the long lens. So I'm going to try and find Mr. Woodpecker there and see if we can get a couple shots of him. All right, so one of the things I'm doing is I've got the telephoto lens shooting at a high shutter speed, and I'm just framing up some of the flowers. The sunlight's starting to hit them, so I'm just trying to get a couple close-ups with a decent composition, or something that's a decent composition. And I'm making sure they're in focus. And I'm trying to get some that I can isolate the background with. So this is just one way to try to photograph some of these flowers. But I love how the light hits some of these. They're very cool. A couple of those next to that tree look really cool. And I'm just swinging my focus manually with my focus peaking on, and catching a few of those with the sun on them. See how that works. And one of the reasons I'm doing it this way is because I really like also photographing the wildlife. So right now I've got some really nice light. I've got some pretty flowers with some sun hitting them, and I'm still looking for that stupid woodpecker. It's actually a pileated woodpecker. Yeah, so some of these flowers with the light hitting them are really pretty. And as we go around today, I'll point out a couple of the tags. All these plants are tagged, and some of the tags are really old. So I'll try and find one of those and show it to you. They're super cool. They're almost like hand-scribed tags. Yeah, so the wind's blowing some of these, and so I've got a faster shutter speed to stop them. 1/800 right now. Flip it up to 1/1000. So just catching a couple of these, and every one of these flowers is gorgeous. One of the cool things about this place when I worked out here was how fast things come and go. Throughout the spring, something will bloom, and then sometimes even just a few days later, it's dead and on the ground. So there's these crazy cycles that one visit just doesn't capture. When you're out here a lot, it's really interesting how these things bloom and then are gone. I think some of the blooming trees that we have out here are already done. So it's super cool. Now I've got a good bit of backlight on these. So they look good. Now I'm set up shooting auto ISO, and I'm gonna bring down my exposure one stop on some of these where the sun is hitting them so that I don't blow these out. On these. And this is just one small section of this place. I mean, I think it's like 18 acres, 12 acres. Yeah, so the sun's hitting these. You guys can see there's a bee in there. I'll see if I can catch him. Sun's hitting these really well, so I'm using my autofocus, but I'm racking my manual to make sure it's good. It'd be great to get one of those bees. I'll get you a shot of that tag if I can. It says Rhododendron Senegal on it. Tiny flowers, very cool. Yeah, they're super bright. Yeah, those will be challenging to edit. Yeah, you guys can tell it's just a sanctuary in here of flowers. I can hear Mr. Cardinal chirping away. I'll see if I can snap a picture of him as well. Focus. Rack the manual to get it in complete focus. And we'll get the tripod out and do some landscape stuff with a lot of these, but they look so good in this morning light. All right, as you can see, there's all these grass walkways out here, so if you do visit, you're going to want to wear some shoes that aren't going to get soaking wet. So these guys are on their way out, actually. They've bloomed earlier. And some of those look a little droopy. But all of these are different rhododendron plants. They'll all be tagged, and they'll all bloom at different times. It's super cool. Yeah, so all through here are little trails. And just different flowers everywhere. These are super cool. Not a lot of light on them, but very pretty. Very pretty. All right, we got a super cool little field of flowers. And the sun was hitting these a second ago. That looked really cool. All right, friends, so we switched up to the D850. I've got my 90mm macro lens. Sun's hitting some of that stuff, so I'm trying to catch a couple of these little flowers. And I am zooming in and using my manual focus to try to really catch those. And I'm gonna put my 2-second timer on. And they don't look like they're moving, which is good. And I need to really zoom in to try to get these clear. See what that looks like. Yeah, I can almost need to get a little closer. I'm just shooting in live view here on the D850, and that's f8. can do with F4. Now we're pretty close to these flowers, and I am not focus stacking these. Let's see what happens with a couple of these. I want to go around here and do a couple more of these. All right, sun's coming through here, lighting up some of this stuff. Those are gorgeous. Look at those things. Try and get down pretty low. And actually, those are super beautiful little teeny things. These are tiny little flowers, but with the purple all around them in the distance, very cool. Ever so slight wind. Gonna raise my ISO a bit so I can speed up my shutter, because I do not want to mess that one up. Those are really cute. Let's see how that works. Yeah, that's pretty cute. Try to get a little bit lower. In manual focus. Yeah, those are, the wind's blowing a little bit. Take a look. It's not bad. We're going to speed up that shutter up to 1/200. Bring up our ISO to get a good exposure. Zoom in again and hit that one again. Yeah, so a little bit of wind. I'm trying to catch these. Yeah, you guys can see those things are super pretty. Now Connor would know what all of these are, but I love these white flowers on these trees. They're super pretty. All right, guys, so you can see the different colors of all these different plants. Those pinkish, orange-ish things, those are really old plants. They've been here a while. But yeah, it's super cool in here. Pops of color everywhere. And it's just one of the trails. And all of this will bloom at different times of the year. It's really cool. Yeah, so we got some really cool little flowering plants here. Now the wind is blowing a bit. We're gonna see if we can catch something here. And I'm too close. I'm gonna back out a bit. What I want is to zero in on one of those tall ones with all his little buddies everywhere else. And we're gonna manually focus. And the wind is blowing, so we're gonna speed up our shutter speed. I've got 320 here. ISO 500. I've got 5.6 aperture here, and I'm just manually focusing to try to get this one in focus, this tall guy, and 2-second timer, and we'll see how that looks. Yep. It's pretty clear without focus stacking these, and it's going to be impossible to focus stack a fast moving plant. But I really like how these look with the background. Pink, purple everywhere. It's very cool. So we're going to lock it down on this guy. This one's like a sprout. He's not yet a flower, but he looks pretty cool. I'm going to line him up in our composition. And I'm shooting these wide enough to where I'll be able to crop these a little bit better if I need to. And we'll see what that does. Yeah. Crop these a little bit better. I wish that sun was coming out and hitting these. That would be good. It's kind of gotten cloudy, so that'll affect our stuff. All right, so these purple flowers are pretty cool. So what I got here now, I'm trying to get the background just as the weeds and such. I'm trying to frame up a decent composition. And then again, we'll just zoom in on live view, focus manually as best as we can. We got a little bit of movement. 2-second timer. And that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. So this is the 90mm Tamron. It's an old macro lens. It's actually got the little button. You can manually focus or autofocus. And the autofocus isn't bad. It seems like once you focus, it keeps going. So this is an autofocus shot. So try this. See if that's any better. We got a little wind moving, so we'll see. All right. So same thing here. Trying to get down a little low. Catch him. Got some little bit of sunshine now. And let's see, got a little focus peaking action going on here. Speed up our shutter. 1/400, the wind's moving. And we'll see what happens. Yeah, look at that wind, huh? Still not too bad. All right, so this is a rhododendron. Gosh, it's a longer name than I can spell. But look at these guys. Look at that. They're gorgeous. I don't know how well this camera can focus on these, but they're super pretty. I'm gonna try to get a couple shots around this. Now, I probably don't have to tell you guys the value of a solid tripod, right? You guys know what that is. You guys know the value, right? So I'm manually focusing. In fact, I may try a manual focus stack on this one. See what happens. And then I'm just gonna take a picture of my hand to remind myself that that's a stack there. And again, because we're so close and we're at 5.6, we are so close that the little pistils can get out of focus. So we're gonna try this. It's not as windy back here. a little bit, a couple shots. See what happens. Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. Yeah, so you guys can see this is one of those ancient tags. I can't barely read it. There's a newer tag on here as well, but yeah. All different breeds of these rhododendrons. And they're gorgeous. Yeah, they're beautiful. And it's getting a little windy now, so it's harder to really get a good photograph of them, but the video looks all right. Yeah. So here's a new bloom. So this is one of the fields where they will plant new species. So they'll hybridize some of these and put them in different fields. And these are really pretty. Let's see if I can focus on these for you guys. Sun's starting to get a little bright. Hopefully these aren't blown out. But really pretty. Yeah. All right, so we're walking, I think, the southwest corner of the property, and there's some very cool colors popping out. A lot of pine trees in this little area. And yeah, I'm gonna try and catch a couple photos down here. We'll pan over here, see, you guys can see that behind me. It's just, you know, a big patch of white flowers against a really dark background. So it looks really cool. I'm gonna set up and see what we can get with this. All right, there's a nice one. Hopefully that's not blown out. Looks like it could be. I'll readjust it. All right, look at that guy. He's really pretty. And some of these are coming out, looks like. Let's see if I can keep him focused for you. Yeah, I might be too close focused, but we'll see. Yeah, now this is the part of the property. It's going to be the northwest corner, deepest into the property. This is where the old house was, where David Leach lived. And now the patio is still up there, and there's some flowers and things blooming up there. But I always love this little corner of the station. Just kind of cool to think about the old house there and all this beauty. It's just a super cool place. Yeah, all right guys, so yeah, this is kind of the area behind me. There is where the house used to be. I love this corner. And this view over here is really wonderful. So let me turn that around for you, see if you can see that. Yeah, imagine that as your front yard, huh? Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful out here. Hey guys, I'm gonna wrap up my shooting out here. The sun's getting high in the sky. It's getting a little harsh. It's still pretty shadowy in the woods, which is nice. So you can still shoot out here in the woods, catching the dappled light that comes through the trees. But I think I've got enough good things. So hopefully, if any of that stuff turns out, I will show it to you guys. And yeah, take a look at the website for the Holden Arboretum and the David Leach Research Station. I will put a link in the description for that. I know on Mother's Day they open the station for certain groups. I mean, it's a paid tour, you have to pay to come in. I think there are different rates for different people, whether they're members or not members of the Arboretum. We're members of the Arboretum, we love it. It's well worth having that membership. But yeah, thank you guys for joining me this morning, and we'll see you next time on the next one. See ya.